Hey there, we have like eons of stories to tell, so if you want to follow us along on this journey and keep up with all the stories that we have putting out, make sure you hit the subscribe button. Hope you enjoy. Thank you.
Hey, what is up everybody? Chad is here and today we're starting a new story because I realized I only had 3 up at the time. It was a Spider-Man, the Superior Spider-Man story, Injustice, and Blue Marvel pretty much. So I'm gonna get a 4th one going right now. I'm probably gonna have like 5 going at all times. I'm not too sure what this 5th one is gonna be, but I'm just gonna go ahead and get this one started, right? Because I heard it was a good story and I've been reading it. It's pretty good, okay? Like it's written by Tom Taylor, so I mean, you know, that should be saying enough. So, I mean, yeah, we're just gonna go ahead and get this one started, right? So, when this one picks up, it's immediately into some stuff, right? Like, it's immediately action going. There's basically this alien invasion, right? And Superman, he's rushing up to go and stop it. He's rushing up to go and take these aliens out. He's ready to go and, like, destroy these ships or get them to turn around, whatever he has to do to save his planet, right? But as soon as he gets out there, Martian Manhunter and John Stewart, they both show up to him and they're saying, go away, okay? You're not supposed to be here. You have a more important matter to resolve. You have to be at the fortress, right? Go to the fortress and go and be where you need to be right now, right? And he's trying to keep, like, he's trying to stay, right? He's trying to fight off this alien invasion, right? And they're just like, no, go where you need to be, right? So he goes all the way to the fortress, right? While this alien invasion is happening, right? He goes back to the fortress, right? Batman, he's standing out there, like he's keeping watch, right? He's guarding the fortress, right? He goes out there, meets Batman. Batman tells him to go inside, right? He goes in and there's a pregnant Lois Lane and Wonder Woman inside the fortress, right? When he gets in there, he's still worrying about the alien invasion that's going on, right? And Wonder Woman says is the birth of this baby is more important than that, right? The annihilation of the planet is not as important as the birth of this baby, right? And what she says is this baby could be, you know, the most powerful being ever, like on Earth, right? Like this baby is important, right? So from there, they actually there's actually like the birth of John Kent, you know, the baby, and basically it skips up to the present day. So we're in the present day, and there's like this huge fire just like lighting up California, right? Like there's just this massive fire, right? And you would assume that it's a forest fire, it being California, but when John shows up, you know, he's in his Superman suit, you know, he shows up, he's trying to quell this fire, right? He shows up and he's like looking around, it's actually a person, right? There's a person actually at the center of this fire emitting this huge fire, right? And when John shows up, he's like analyzing the guy, right? And like all the military, they're trying to like destroy this dude, right? So he's like going around just like to taking out all the missiles and basically trying to keep this guy protected from the military, right? Because their first thought is to just kill this dude, right? Like he's a danger, he's a huge threat to the entire state of California. We've got to kill this guy, right? But John, he says, no, we're gonna stop, we're gonna, you know, calm this dude down, because what he finds out is this dude's power, like the fire that he emits, it's relative to his stress level, right? So basically the more stressed out he is, the more anxious he is, the higher the more that his power is gonna flare up, right? So after he quells the fire, he gets this guy to settle down. You know, he gets this guy to, you know, chill. You know, he's not anxious, he's not stressed out anymore. All his power just, you know, it flares down, right? So he's like, you know, trying to get this guy to the military, right? Because they can protect this dude. He just, you know, he's taking him to the military. And he's trying to, like, you know, give him up to them, but when he flies away after he, like, you know, leaves this guy with him, they knock him out, right? And like John, he rushes back and he grabs this dude and he's like trying to figure out, should he leave him there or should he take him away, right? Because if he leaves him there, there's no telling what they're gonna do to this guy, right? They could probably kill him like as soon as they take him away. They could do like experiments on him. He could just live the worst life possible, you know, in the hands of the military, right? So John doesn't know what to do, right? But at the end of the day, like we find out he's telling this story to Damian Wayne, his best friend, the son of Batman, right? He's telling this story to them, and when Damian Wayne puts the pieces together, he realizes John left him with the military, right? So there's no telling if this guy has been killed by them, if he's getting experimented on by them. John is just trying to figure out if he did the right thing, right? Like he doesn't know. That's basically what this story is going to be about. It's basically him trying to find himself, like what's the right thing to do in this world, what's the wrong thing to do in this world. And him and Superman, they're gonna have a real good conversation about this later, right? So now this part here is actually funny, right? Because like basically in the middle of them talking, Damian Wayne is in a tournament, right? And there's these ninjas that like show up and they're trying to like fight Damian Wayne off while he's talking to Superman, right? It's basically like that part in Injustice where Batman is like at the very beginning, where Batman is like fighting off the criminals and stuff, and Superman is like, all right, well, whenever you're done beating these guys up, beat me up top, right? It's just like that. It's like And they're just like beating the crap out of all these ninjas while they're just having this casual conversation, right? So he basically just wants to find out who he is, right? Like what is he all about, right? Like who is John Kent? What does the symbol on his chest stand for, right? And what Damien tells him is, I mean, well, if you want to figure out who you are, just be a different person, right? Like you can't be who you are if you're being Superman, right? It's basically like that kind of thing, right? Like be someone else, not the son of Superman. So what he's saying is, since his dad is Batman, he can, fashion a new identity for John Kent, right? So he doesn't have to go around, because everybody knows John Kent, like that's the son of Superman, or basically Superman himself at this point. He's basically, he's basically recognizable, but to anybody at this point. What Damian Wayne does is he shows him this live stream, right? He shows him this live stream of this dude named The Truth. And what The Truth does is he just goes on this live stream and he talks about stuff that, normal people are, too scared to talk about, like these normal live streams. He goes and talks about basically things that most people wouldn't, because they're scared of, people finding out, and, like basically trying to come after them because of that kind of stuff, right? So after that, John Kent leaves, right? And he's laying in his bed in the morning, and he's like watching The Truth, right? And what The Truth is saying is, there's like this ship out in the sea, right? And basically what it is, it left from this nation of Gamora. And basically they're leaving this place, right? This place is supposed to be a paradise, but there's like a bunch of refugees and stuff that flee this place like constantly, and they like, no one really knows why, right? So what he's saying is, people aren't even answering the distress signals of this boat, right? Because they don't want to piss off the people of Gamora, right? Like because there's like this tyrant that resides there, like the person who runs over it, and basically they want to piss that guy off to pretty much make enemies for their own country, right? While he's watching it, right, like he ignores it for a bit, like it kind of like sits in the back of his mind. He ignores it for a bit, and he goes off to school, right? And he goes as Finn Connors, his new identity that was made up by Batman. So he takes off and he goes to school, right? And as soon as he gets to school, like as soon as he gets there, like there's this dude, he's sitting up in his van, right? He's sitting in his van and he's like loading up this gun, right? And while he's going around, John Kent's like going around, he's just like looking at all these different things, right? This dude gets out of the car, he shows up, and he just starts trying to lay into everybody at the steps of this school with his gun, right? Basically a school shooting. And Superman, knowing that he has to act right now, or he's not going to be able to, there's going to be like a lot of dead kids here, he goes in, jumps in front of every single bullet, right? Takes this guy down, literally losing his costume, and basically everyone finds out he's John Kent, right? When everyone starts like ogling over him, stuff like that, they find out that he's John Kent. He ends up getting sad, right? He tries to leave, and then this one kid walks up to him and he tries to give him his fake hair back, right? So he takes it and he just leaves, right? He just takes off, right? And we find out he went to the moon. And Superman, like the dad Superman, I would just call Superman, and I'm gonna call John, right? Because I've been calling John Superman too. And it's gonna probably get confusing, right? So Superman's like talking to, or I could just call him Clark. All right, yeah, I'm gonna do that. All right, Clark and John. So so Clark is talking to John, right? And he found out that like his alter identity, basically it was a fail, right? Because of what he did, it was a good reason, stuff like that. And he ended up meeting him on the moon, right? So when they're just sitting there, right, Clark and John, they're just sitting there and they're just looking at the earth from the moon, right? And they're looking at it, and he's basically like, saying like it's beautiful, isn't it? Stuff like that. And what John is looking at is the fact that like the forests are disappearing, the oceans are suffering, getting polluted, all this different stuff, right? There's borders between all these different lands, and no one is on the same side, which is the side of humanity, right? Everyone is against each other, stuff like that, right? And Superman says, yes, I see it, I see all of it. And John's just like asking him like am I wrong? Like is that should it not be like that? Like it's like I'm not too sure how to feel about it, right? It's basically just him trying to figure himself out, right? Like to figure out if the way he thinks is wrong, right? So what Superman says is, you're not wrong, right? Like look at the planet, right? Look at it and think about what it could be, right? Like think of all the progression that they could go through, right? And what he does is he asks Clark, why don't you do more, right? Like you have the power to change all of this. Like why don't you do more, right? And what he says is I don't think it's my place, right? I wasn't born here. I'm an alien. I'm an outsider. Yeah, the people love me, but at the same time, I'm not one of them. So for me to come here and like try to get these people to change, that's not really my place, right? And when John says, I mean, well, if you're not gonna do it, then who will? Clark says, I was hoping you would, right? And when he says that, he takes John away, right? And they both go to the second fortress, right? So what he's doing is he's basically giving him the fortress, right? Like giving him his own little place to hang out at. to operate out of, you know, stuff like that, right? And he basically from there he gives him his old suit, right? Like one of his old Superman suits. Basically what he's doing is he's telling John that he has to go away for a bit, right? At this point in the story, I'm not too sure like where he's going. Like I haven't been keeping up with DC like that, but he's saying that he has to go away for a bit, right? So he's telling them all that, and John is basically realizing that, you know, he has to be Superman right now, right? Like he has to be the new Superman at this point in time, right? So when he's at home, we skip ahead a little bit. He's laying in bed and he's like watching the truth again, right? And he's hearing the same reports of that boat from Gamora that was basically just stranded at sea, right? The distress signals that no one was answering. He's basically hearing that like over and over, right? And what he realizes is he has to act on it, right? So we skip over to that boat, right? Like we skip over to that boat. You know, they're in rough waters, right? They're in rough waters, and basically this one kid, he falls out of the boat into shark-infested waters, right? These sharks are about to tear this kid apart, and basically John Kent, he flies in, saves this kid, right? Brings him back up to the boat, and he flies them all the way to Metropolis, the new symbol of hope. Just saved this entire boatload of people, right? And when he brings them to the to Metropolis, what happens is, like, when they're getting off the boat, the police arrive, right? The police arrive, and they're just like trying to like handcuff all these people, right? And basically when they're handcuffing these people, John, he shows up and he just like starts blasting all the handcuffs off, right? And when the captain here, he's like trying to tell them, like he's trying to tell John, like, yeah, we have to do it like this, you know, stuff like that. And what John says is, these people need help, not handcuffs. John just brought these people to a new place and basically gave them a new home, quote unquote. So from there, he's like he like goes to a rooftop and he's like looking down, right? He's like looking down at all of this. And like the truth shows up, right? The dude that he was watching on the live stream, he shows up and he's like asking him, like he's talking to him about this stuff, right? And basically what he says is that he's actually gonna show him who he is, right? And when he takes off his mask, it turns out this is the kid that was giving him his fake hair back at the school. When he saved the lives of all those people at the school from the school shooter, he was basically the kid that gave him his fake hair back. So from there, he's basically there to tell John Kent that like, since he did what he just did, he basically made an enemy out of the tyrant of Gamora, right? Like there's this dude, the president, President Henry Bendix. He basically just made an enemy of this dude, right? Gamora on the outside looking in, it's a paradise, right? But the problem is, the fact that people leave this place so often, like the fact that there are refugees who are like so eager to get out of that place, it doesn't fit in the fact that, you know, from the outside looking in, it's a paradise, right? Because you would assume that people would want to stay there, right? So the fact that he brought these people over to Metropolis basically makes it seem like it crushes that entire illusion, right? So the president there is gonna be pissed off, right? Like he's gonna want to, you know, get John off the board so he can try to keep that illusion up, right? So it's basically seeming like this guy, like the president, is gonna be the antagonist of this first arc, right? In which I'm ready to see what's happening, right? Because I haven't necessarily seen exactly what he's been going over, but I'm really excited to see what it's gonna be like, right? But we're gonna end this story here. If you are new to the channel, subscribe, leave a like if you enjoyed the video, and I will see y'all in the next one.